And it is that time once again. Welcome to the 2019 ACCHL Tournament Preview. Zach Sawai here for PackTV alongside Thomas Overton and Logan Ward. Guys, how you doing today?
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, always happy to talk about hockey. Excited to be here.
It's been an exciting season so far for NC State hockey. They're now 22-0 based off a forfeit off of Clemson the other night, and they did end up winning against Wake Forest 3-2, an outstanding comeback. All of that we'll get to eventually. To explain a little bit today about the structure of the show, just to go right into it, we're going to be looking at all four matchups for Friday, and we're going to be talking about each of the matchups and talking about each team in depth, looking into everything like that. So I don't think there's any more time to waste here, so let's just get straight to it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to first start up with the first matchup of the day, starting at noon, the first game of the day between Virginia and George Washington. George Washington was a team that we did see this year, very early on in the year, the very first home game for NC State, but Virginia is not an opponent that we have seen this year, but they have been a dagger in State's hearts for the longest time. Thomas, what do we know about Virginia this year?
Yeah, I was going to say it's always tough when you don't get to play somebody in the season. You know, we don't get to go watch the game, cover the game. We don't know that much about them. So you're trying to just look at some stats and some games, maybe some clips post on YouTube and get the idea. But always Virginia, in my opinion, like a veteran team. You know, they're not going to come out and lay an egg. They're going to come out and be ready. I think they like to keep you more of a lower score. So they like to control the tempo, lower scores, obviously opposite of State. So look for that this weekend.
And State, of course, lost several games to Virginia last year. They lost both at home during the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament as well. They did end up losing in a road trip to Virginia as well. But George Washington, Logan, we were there for that one. And State won in overtime 4-3, an outstanding turnout in that game. What do we know heading into this one about George Washington? How has their season been since we faced them last?
Well, the season's been pretty good. In conference play going 4-2, 1-2. They had a pretty good season. Again, that offense is pretty strong, but you have to look against that game against State, I think, is a good barometer. It was early in the season, but really it showed us what was yet to come. Riley Johnson winning that thrilling one in overtime. But looking at them, they've got Alec and Will Yurkovich, two players to really watch, the brothers. They just put up points and they can do it easily.
And they've been doing an outstanding job all year, and they definitely played a dagger during that first home game against State. But Virginia, of course, you were talking about how they were sort of more of a offensively dynamic team that likes to keep the numbers low.
Right.
But nonetheless, they are a very strong offensive team. What guys do we have to look at for Virginia?
Yeah, definitely they can still put them up in bunches if they choose to. Will Thurn, leading scorer, 25 points in 13 games played. That includes 14 goals. So you look for him to get in the net, and then Peter Butler, 21 points in 15 games played. So some different options instead of just one go-to guy for the Cavaliers.
I think that's one more point that we'll ever have. So they're going to be scoring much more than we are here. Yep. But Logan, heading into talk about George Washington, I think the scoring goes a little bit beyond Alec and Will Yurkovich. I think there's some more guys to the offensive dynamic there that set up a truly 1-2 punch down all four lines.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can't ignore the Yurkoviches because they lead them in goals scored and assists, but looking at the entire team, you've got Cooper May and Brian Sargent as well. May is a little bit more of an assisting player. He passes very well. He gets his teammates open for shots, and Brian Sargent is a little bit more of a goal scorer, 18 total points on 11 goals and 7 assists. He's really more of an all-around presence, but they can really hurt you on the offensive end, and I think that's what they're really going to try to do against Virginia.
So we have two very strong teams heading into this matchup, and I can only think to myself, who do we think is going to come out on top on this game?
If we had to put money on it, I'd pick Virginia, just because higher seed and, only one overtime loss all season. So they've got the experience. I think they're going to be ready to play.
I've got to go Virginia as well. George Washington has a really good team. Again, they have more wins than losses, but I think really that overtime is where it's going to come into play because they've been to overtime a lot more, and they're 1-2 in those games.
And Virginia, of course, heading into this one, the third seed in the ACCHL as it stands. George Washington, the 6th seed. So be on the lookout for that one as well. Logan and I will be making the trip up to cover the whole tournament as well with help from the Carolina Thunderbirds. So it'll be an exciting game to watch and an exciting tournament to watch. Next up at 6 p.m. that night at the Annex in Winston-Salem, the home of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, they'll be taking on UNC Charlotte, the reigning ACCHL champions. And luckily enough, later on in this segment, we'll be talking to both Rob Root, senior captain for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and Andrew Miller, leading scorer and the heart and soul of the UNC Charlotte 49ers. So to talk a little bit about this matchup going forward here, UNC Charlotte has never been an easy team first state to face. We've talked to head coach Mike Gazzillo a lot and to Sam Banashevitz how much they hate facing Charlotte. They are a very hard team to face. So to talk a little bit more about Charlotte here, what do we know about them going in? Because Andrew Miller is obviously the glaring thing right there. What goes beyond Andrew Miller?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say some teams always have teams numbered, and Charlotte seems to have states numbered. It's certainly a team with the offensive firepower that you probably don't want to see, at least to the final. If you have to see him in the final, you probably take that. But Andrew Miller, obviously 56 points. That's just ridiculous in 22 games played. And then Chase Wyerden, 35 points in those 22 games. That includes 22 assists. So he probably sets up, Andrew Miller a lot. But, lots of different weapons.
Yeah, so weapons are obviously very important. You can really hide them in all four lines as well, cycle them through. And Logan, recently we were up to see NC State take on Wake Forest in a rocker of a game. Yeah. NC State came back down from 2-1, won 3-2. First off, that was just an incredible game there.
It really was just absolutely incredible. You beat them 10-0 going into the game. Tensions were a little high because, Wake Forest is always that team that can beat you, and they were really looking to play spoiler against State's undefeated season. Cal Meyer played a hell of a game. Mm-hmm. He has all season, .937 save percentage. He's an incredible player, and there's a reason that they went 6-1, 1-1 overall in conference play this season.
And they've been good as well. But to talk a little bit more about that, we were looking at Andrew Gebhardt, one of their top scorers on their team as well. Yeah. Really stuck it to them, had a goal against NC State in that game. But going off what you said about weapons, Wake Forest has the ability to put weapons on all four lines. Yeah. What are some players to look at there for Wake Forest? Because whoever faces them after UNC Charlotte, if they make it on, it won't be easy.
Well, yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy. They are that team that can play spoiler against anybody, really. Andrew Gebhardt, you mentioned, really is just a great all-around player. He can score, he can pass, he does everything that they need him to. Another player that I think you do need to watch out for, although he's not as prolific as Gebhardt, you need to watch out for Nick Kerouac. He put in a goal against State in the Annex, and really that kind of shifted the tide towards Wake Forest at the very beginning there. So I think he's a player you really need to watch out for.
And to hear more about Wake Forest, of course, we're going to talk to senior captain Rob Root right here. We are delighted to be joined by Wake Forest senior captain Rob Root. Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Zach.
It's been an outstanding season for you guys as well, clinching that 4th seed. Talk about this season for you guys and what's been sort of the message going around in the locker room.
Right, so the key to our season's really been about effort. The guys in the locker room have been really great with what we've been doing and what Dave Pasquale, our head coach, has been implementing in practice and then on the ice during the games. We've really been blessed with some young freshman talent this year, which has helped us exponentially improve our game. And really what that has come down to is a lot of focus and effort from the top down with junior leadership and senior leadership, helping out those freshmen, accommodate them to the ACCHL.
And obviously this year, offensive talent has not been at a short for you guys. Andrew Gebhardt has been at the top of his game for most of the year so far. What have you liked from your offensive unit so far, knowing that you're a defenseman?
It's really great because we have a lot of speed up front, and that speed helps out the defensemen closing down the gaps in the neutral zone. They've really done a great job with the forecheck this year, putting pressure on the other team's defensemen. That way, when we get the puck back at the blue line, it helps us out and gives us more time to distribute the puck back to them.
And we just talked to Andrew Miller from the UNC Charlotte 49ers. They're getting ready to face you in that first game. So talk to us briefly here about what is the message going into that game for you guys?
Yeah, so Andrew's one of the top players in the ACC, and he has been over the past 4 years. And we're used to playing them. Obviously, we play them in the same division. But when you have a top line like they do, it's really looking to close down on those top few guys. And if we can do that, hopefully we can do well on Friday.
And obviously, this year's game is going to be held at your guys' home, the Annex there in Winston-Salem, and it's going to be an exciting game for sure. How much have you liked the growth of hockey in North Carolina and especially in Winston-Salem?
It's been really great in Winston-Salem, having the Carolina Thunderbirds move in from the FHL, and we've seen a lot of support from the Winston-Salem community as of late. The annex and the staff of the annex has been tremendous my past 4 years, and we've seen a lot of growth in our fan base and people interested in hockey over the past 4 years, which has been great.
All right, Rob. Well, thank you so much for joining us here, and best of luck to you guys in the tournament.
All right, thanks a lot, Zach. I appreciate it.
Big thanks to senior captain Rob Baruch from the Wake Forest Demon Deacons for joining us. Outstanding defensive defenseman there for the Demon Deacons. We thank him for joining us here, and we can't wait to see him play during the tournament as well. And we're not done just yet. Here's Andrew Miller, leading scorer for the UNC Charlotte 49ers. We're delighted here to be joined by UNC Charlotte 49er assistant captain Andrew Miller here. Andrew, thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Reigning ACCHL champions heading into this season this year. It's got to be an exciting feeling to know that you're going back to the tournament.
Oh yeah, it's a great feeling. We had to win our 2 last games to clinch a spot. We clinched the 5 seed, so the boys are really excited about this year.
And of course, you got some outstanding offensive firepower this year, obviously with Daniel Ritter last year being one of your star goaltenders. Their goaltenders have fit in very well down there. What has been the dynamic like on this team this year?
It's been definitely a change from last year. We lost 7 or 8 seniors that had a huge impact on the team, and it's kind of getting those new guys acclimated to the culture of the team, and they've seemed to fit in great with the guys. So just hopefully you can keep some momentum going into playoffs next weekend.
Absolutely, and heading into that first game, of course, against Wake Forest, who's had a very quietly good season. You guys are playing them first on Friday there. What's going to be the keys to winning that game? You're on Wake Forest's home turf.
Definitely. I mean, we played UVA last year in front of a huge crowd in the first round, so crowd shouldn't be an issue for us. But they're very good defensively, so just trying to get some good offensive momentum going, and then obviously shut them down as well.
And I wanted to get your brief thoughts on this. You've been around the hockey community for some time, and there's been widespread discussion about growing the game, and you might have seen it on Twitter as well. It has been a very chart-topping, trending thing going on around here. What are your thoughts on the way that the ACC and, of course, college hockey is really growing the game in North Carolina?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know when I came in, UNC Charlotte, we didn't really get very many fans at our games or anything like that. It was always fun to travel. I know NC State usually gets a good crowd, but over the 4 years that I've been here, we've grown the crowd a tremendous amount, which has been great. And then we always help out. Our team always helps out with the Try Hockey for Free, so getting those younger kids more involved in hockey as well, which hopefully they stick with it throughout their lifetime. So I think it's definitely a huge thing. It's definitely grown a lot since I've been here. So.
All right, as always, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here on PackTV. We'll see you soon. Good luck in the tournament.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Big thanks to Andrew Miller from the UNC Charlotte 49ers for joining us here on PackTV. It's exciting to have him here. Good luck to him in the tournament and the rest of the Charlotte 49ers. Coming up that night on Friday at 9 p.m., Virginia Tech takes on Georgetown. 2 teams that NC State saw this year. Of course, Georgetown got mopped by NC State early on in the year, if that's the word to describe it, if anything. 10-0 in that one, but still Georgetown comes in as the 2nd seed.
Yeah, I think Georgetown's had a lot of success in conference play, obviously, other than the state game. I really like the teams in that Capital Division. I think that's probably the strongest division as a whole.
Yeah.
So 9-0 for the games that count towards points, and however they do that, 18 points total. So tied with State, obviously lost a tiebreaker. So Georgetown, obviously a great team, but State was able to handle it easily. So we'll see if the 2 seed is worth having the 2 seed.
And they've been strong going in, as you said as well. But Virginia Tech is a team not to look down on as well. Although they have a 10-15-1 overall record on the year, they're still doing quite well in conference play. Just squeaked in with the 7th seed. Logan, what do we think about? Remember when State played them? Talking about how they did, what exactly do we know about Virginia Tech?
Well, Virginia Tech played a really good game against State. We went up to face them and came away with a 7-4 win. That's always good to win by 3 points, but it was a very sloppy game for State. There was bad passing. It really just wasn't the quality offense that we've come to know from them. So I expect to see a lot more out of Virginia Tech. They've had a little bit of a lackluster season, but they did come down to the wire against State. So that's always somebody you got to watch.
And they've had some crisp passing as well.
Yeah.
2 of their goals, their strongest ability comes when they're able to capitalize on failed opportunities. 2 of those goals that were scored against NC State were coming off of bad passes made by the defense. So be on the lookout for some shaky passes from them. That is where they capitalize the best there. So talking a little bit more in depth about Georgetown Georgetown. Who are their top soldiers?
Yeah, I mean, they've got 4 different players that have over 15 points in their 16 games played, so my stats looking here. So I can share the puck a little bit. Obviously leading scorer Nick Gallo, 10 goals and 12 assists in those 16 games. So you look for him to score, but lots of supporting roles around him.
Yeah.
As well, looking at Virginia Tech, the Hokies are no competition to look down on there. Logan, who do we have to look at here?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you need to watch out for is Stephen Gerke. He's a forward. He's done a great job all around. 13 goals, 22 assists. So really, he just comes in with 35 points. He's always somebody you got to watch. And he played a big role in Virginia Tech beating Virginia in overtime. Again, Virginia, one of the teams that we talked about you need to watch out for. So beating them 5-4 in overtime is really good going in. But other players you have to watch out for are David ACCHL. 11 points, 7 assists, 18 points overall. So they've got players that can really hurt you in a variety of ways, so you got to watch out there.
It's going to be a big one to match up for sure. We'll be looking at that game. And early on predictions, what do you guys think about the chalk holding in that one?
Yeah, I'd have to take Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got to go Georgetown as well. When you're 9-0 in conference play, there's a reason for that. And despite that really big loss to State, I think they are a quality good team.
I mean, I don't even know what a Hokie is. So if the soldiers from Georgetown can take it down, I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable that you guys picked Georgetown, so good pick there. And now the biggest moment, of course, is talking about the game that most of you all will be watching on this channel. NC State will take on St. Joe's. NC State, the number 1 seed coming in, undefeated on the year against St. Joe's, who squeaks in at the 8th seed. It's going to be an interesting matchup. We haven't seen St. Joe's much of this year, but to talk a little bit first about NC State, just to recap on an outstanding 22-0 season. I was wrong earlier about saying they were 21-0. And in the great words of Thomas over here, a forfeit does count as a dub.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Clemson did end up forfeiting one of the games, so that automatically gave State a win there. The booster overall ranking to 22-0, still ranked number 8 in the ACCHL Southeast Division standings, pending a change. Most likely will come tomorrow, which is Tuesday, February 12th. That'll come at night. But to Logan, talk about an outstanding season from NC State. They were the better team out of everyone in the ACCHL from the beginning.
They've really just been a fantastic team. I feel like they really picked it up in the second half of the season. That's really where we saw them shine offensively as much as they have this entire season. They've got a great front line with Leith Jadala, Sam Benishevitz, and Nikita Anastratov, although we've seen him sit in recent games on that first line. But their second line has proven itself later in the season. Riley Johnson, of course, we knew from the first game that he was going to be somebody to watch. But Parker Zarek and Alex Robinson have really come into their own late in this season. Pair that with a really good core of goalies, and I think you got a great team right there, as we've seen all season long.
Alex Robinson, of course, walked away with our Wolfpack Outfitters Player of the Game award for that game against Wake Forest just a few short days ago. Yeah. Really changed the dynamic in that game, and that's what I feel like that second line is used for. Because you have those top lines that those score those goals, but I feel like the bottom 3 lines, and you can chip in as well there, Thomas, it's really all about changing the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look to the same line to score. Obviously, you're not going to play all 60 minutes. Most lines, even the best lines, in my opinion, only play 17, 18, 19 minutes a game. Yeah. So you really got to look down third and fourth lines, people to step up. Obviously, not make mistakes, but obviously get at least some shots on goal, maybe some goals in there also. Yeah.
Josh Cannon as well, talking about the goaltending tandem between him and Joey Hall. Josh Cannon finished in the top 5 in terms of save percentage and goals against average in terms of the entire ACCHL Southeast Division standings. Joey Hall, of course, held his own, did outstanding in his own stats this year as well, so big ups to the goaltenders there from NC State as well. But to talk now a little bit about St. Joe's, they're not a team that we have seen much of this year, so talk to us what we know about St. Joe's.
Yeah, I mean, St. Joe's just squeaked in, 4-4-1 in conference play, tied for that last spot, 9 points. So however they did the tiebreaker, they're in. They're probably pretty excited to be here. Didn't know if they were going to make it, but snuck it out. So leading scorer JT Tarantino, 34 points in 19 games played. I mean, that's a score right there. So you got to watch out for him. Also, Eddie Coravelli, 27 points in 20 games played, one more. And the thing I like about them is that they went out and played 2 Division I teams this season. They sought out those opportunities to get better. Lost those 2 games, but obviously with playing up Northeast, you have those chances to maybe schedule some of those Division I teams.
And getting in those reps, basically facing a D1 team in NC State with the way that they played this year. Do you think it's a good thing that they had those D1 games to sort of up their energy level for this upcoming match?
Yeah, definitely. Something just different to look at. Maybe the players are better, or they play faster or harder. So, obviously you take all the practice you can get. If you can play better competition, you probably want to do that to get better come tournament time.
It's going to be a fun one to watch for sure there, but to just bounce off a little bit more about NC State as well. Talking about really a lot of the core players that are going to this one. Their defense this year has stepped up. All 6 of their D-men, just 6 defensemen in total so far, have reached over the double-digit point mark. To get their offense jumping in from their defense, how important is that?
It's really important. You got to get your defense involved in your passing and your scoring. And they've done a good job of that. They are very active. Cam Mazikowski took a little bit of a hit from his rookie year in terms of his scoring, but he's still been active in passing and really that special teams and making things happen. Ellis Rushford, of course, you know what he does best, and that's an instigator. He gets things started. He's aggressive. He's physical. He just does a great job out there. So the 2 of them, especially on that front line for defense, are a real reason that State is as powerful as it is defensively.
And of course, we can't go talking about NC State without talking to one of the players themselves. Let's hear right now from Riley Johnson. We are delighted today to be joined by Riley Johnson, second line forward here for the NC State hockey team. Riley, thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, of course.
It's been an exciting season for you guys for sure, and one of the biggest things is that you guys are undefeated. That's going to be an exciting feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Couldn't ask for a better turnout for the regular season.
And going more into that, you definitely led the way in scoring this year, 22 goals, second to only Sam Banashevitz there. How do you do it? How do you pot so many in one year?
Got to give credit where credit's due. Couldn't do it without Parker and Robo on the line, and Sam's just an easy guy to follow. He sets a good example, so we just try to do what we can for our seniors.
And this is the first tournament that you're going into for yourself, and it's going to be an exciting one for yourself for sure. But going in, NC State hasn't had a very strong track record in tournaments past. Are you going to be thinking about that going into this one, or is the mentality just to sort of win?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely just thinking about winning. We got a new team, new season. We're not focused on the past, don't want to dwell on anything. We got a great leader and a lot of depth throughout the line, so we're really not worried about that. We're just worried about playing our own hockey and letting it take care of itself.
And obviously you guys had basically a tournament preview match there at the Annex on Saturday, an unbelievable 3-2 comeback win there. Talk to us a little bit about that and how that had the tournament feel to that game.
Right, yeah. Coach made a big point going into the third period. We were still down there, and he made it a point that this is playoff hockey, and we need to definitely learn how to play some playoff hockey with our young guys and not used to the difference in pace from the regular season. So definitely that third period, just a gritty win for the boys. So we're just looking on building off that and carrying it into this weekend.
All right, Riley, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck this weekend.
Yep, appreciate it.
All right. Big thanks to Riley Johnson, second line star from the NC State ice hockey team. Huge thanks to him, and best of luck to NC State in the tournament. We'll be there covering that game. Yeah. So now is the fun part of this extravaganza here. We're now going to pick the winner of the tournament. Of course, we don't really have a say in who's going to win. That's up to the players. We're just here making predictions because I guess that's what we do. So we're going to go down the line here, starting with Logan. Logan, who do you think is going to win the tournament?
I mean, it's got to be State. 22-0, perfect on the season and in conference play. You can't get better than that, and they've got the team to back it up. So I think State's got to win this one. Really, how else can you expect things to go?
Yeah, I agree. State, just all the offensive weapons. They like to score goals and play fast. I think it's going to pay off, conditioning and that type of stuff. Also, their struggles in the tournament lately, winning the regular season multiple times, but not the tournament since 2011. I think they're going to play with the chip on their shoulder this year.
Yeah. And most of those guys, we talked to Coach Gazilla before, most of the guys are so new, they don't remember that history. So this is their first crack at really stepping into that lineup and really wanting to win. And for that reason alone, I'm going to pick NC State as well. You have a lot of young guys on this team. Most of the freshmen are 18 on this team. I was talking to some of the guys about that because most of those players, Ellis Rushford, Sam Banashevitz, are 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
You're coming in with all these freshmen with that young blood, that young energy. They're going to want to win, and they're going to have a really fun time doing it. But as sort of a underdog, I'm going to sort of say that I think that Wake Forest is going to give them a run for their money. They definitely showed up in the last game as well. They're a team to watch out for, but nonetheless, I think NC State will win.
Absolutely. I would say that the underdog is Wake Forest to watch because of that game that we just went to. Again, they almost won that one. In the third period, halfway through, they were up 2-1 on NC State before they let in 2 goals. And that's nothing to knock against Cal Meyer, their goalie. He's an incredible player, and really, they had a lot of trouble getting it past him. Coach Tim Healy told us, they're a little bit afraid of that because they feel that they gave them a little bit of confidence. So they're a team to watch out for, but I still think it's a team that State can handle. But watch for them to make an impact.
Yeah, I think the winner of that Wake Forest Charlotte game is going to play a big part in the rest of the weekend. You know, Charlotte, obviously, Andrew Miller, all the offense. We want a lot of offense this weekend, and then Wake, like we've been saying, played so well against State the other day. So I think one of those two teams is definitely a team to watch out for.
It's going to be a big one for sure, and we hope that you will tune into the tournament this weekend. Of course, the play starts at noon. We will be starting to stream the games to PackTV. Logan and myself will be calling the first Virginia game as well. They'll be taking on George Washington. We'll be on the call for that. And, of course, we'll be there for the NC State game as well as they take on St. Joe's. All the information as well. Stay tuned to @IntoThePack on Twitter to be looking out more for that. And, of course, at NC State Hockey, the ACC Hockey League Twitter as well. All those big things. If you want to stay tuned, be sure to stay tuned on Twitter as well for all sorts of updates. We want to thank you for joining us here for the 2019 ACC Tournament Preview Show. Once again, I'm Zach Salwai with Thomas Overton and Logan Ward. We'll see you soon.